Thank you very much, Orlan Francis. I'm now delighted to introduce Áine ní Ghiollagáin of Cúram.
Hello, and thank you very much for having me here today. Just a word about Cúram. We look for recognition for the unpaid work of parents and carers. We are part funded by the Department of Justice under the Equality budget. We're non-denominational and non-party political. So just so you get where we're coming from, we're mostly mums, dads, parents and carers, and we're a voluntary organisation. I suppose for us, there's been a lot of talk about 41.2, parts 1 and 2 as a symbolic provision. But for us and for me in the organisation, which I didn't realise before, it does actually have quite a lot of practical implications. Any changes for us, it's going to be very important that they not just be gender neutral, but that they be made so that it ensures that we protect the work that is going on in homes and communities on an unpaid basis, and that we improve the supports. So when you're considering proposing new wording, I would just ask that you not focus simply on the gender neutral aspect of it, but that you also ensure that it's not weakened. So, for example, in my own opinion, the Constitution Review Group's suggestion to say the government should endeavour to support is far weaker than endeavour to ensure. And I sincerely doubt that my own organisation could support such a wording. I mean, nothing would give me greater pleasure than to be able to look from my members and from the general public support for the changes that you're going to come up with here. The people who contact us with regard to this article, it would be people mostly mothers in the case of marital breakdown, and they're looking for support. I am not an expert, I'm not a legal expert, but when marriages break down, when partnerships break down, it's very common that one person more than the other would have been doing the bulk of unpaid care and unpaid work in the family. It works out that way. Even, might I say, my friends who are homosexual couples, one person, I have a friend now who's looking full-time after their daughter. So it's not just something that that will hit people who are in traditional married families. I think it's very important that we have some backdrop for those people. If we take this out, will that backdrop be there? That would be one question that I have. Another thing is attracting men to do more unpaid work. I've listed out a lot of the statistics in our submission that's up on the website, but we do have 505,000 women working full-time in the home, but only 8,100 men. So if you change, if you weaken in any way this provision, it will affect more women negatively. So I just ask you to consider that. Also, the time use surveys that have been produced by the ESRI and the analysis thereof show that women do much more unpaid work even when they're in full-time employment. So there is a second shift. There is evidence for a second shift of unpaid work in Ireland as well. One thing I think maybe some of you wouldn't necessarily have come across, and I didn't come across it until I started working in with organisations, and that is the general approach, if you like, of the different government departments. I suppose social protection and health would be two big departments that support parents and carers. And while we've heard clearly that it hasn't been possible to take cases to push things through, certainly it is very clear, I would say, to not just people working in the departments and politicians, but also people who come, who are advising them from outside, that this article does actually potentially have teeth. And if somebody were to take a court case, would you want to actually be the civil servant who caused the government to lose a court case? I mean, we do have comparatively very good protections although it may not seem like this, when you're actually in the situation. We do have pretty good protections for carers. We do have pretty good protections for parents. We have very good rates of child benefit, for example, comparatively, especially if you compare to, for example, the United States. But there's no necessity for that to continue, especially in the current economic climate. I've spent a lot of time this year going around looking to ensure that supports for children and families continue even in this economic crisis. And what I come up to all the time is, it's costing too much, it's costing too much, it's costing too much. And I keep saying, well, what are the outcomes that we want for our children? Do we want our children to be well fed? Do we want our children to have a roof over their heads? Do we want our children to have a winter coat? We see that the numbers of children in poverty are rising, and in consistent poverty it's gone up now to 9.3%. You know, we're going to spend money on children. I think as a country we want to do that. We may discuss how we want to do that and reform it and make it better. But I think if we remove the provision 41.2, simply as had been suggested, it was by the second Commission on the Status of Women, I think, if we were to remove it, I think that would be a retrograde step. And I do not think that would help women. I do not think that it would help parents or carers. I don't think it would help mothers. I don't think it would help children. And I don't think it would help other people who require care. The only last thing I'd like to say is that even though we often look to, if you like, Scandinavia, in Scandinavia, the experience of individualization has meant that they have moved from, if you like, a breadwinner model to a double income model. And the people who fall through the cracks then are those with caring responsibilities, are those with less than 2 incomes coming into any particular household. There are still problems with the poverty of single parents, of carers in Scandinavian countries, and they, like us, have less in the way of funding to cover those. This is something that they're going to have to struggle with the same as we are. But I think we have to get this right. We have to give proper protection to unpaid care. We have to give proper recognition to unpaid care, and we have to give proper support. Otherwise, the people who will suffer are the people who are already suffering, but they will actually suffer more, and more people will join them. Thank you very much.